Good morning. Welcome to Mystic Dragonfly Garden. Today is the day after all that rain and after getting those plants living in the garage outside to get some water and to enjoy the sunshine this week. So let's go explore what some of these plants are that I am overwintering in my garage, aka Poor Girl's Greenhouse, and see how they're doing. Here we have Diamond Frost Euphoria. This is one of my absolute favorite proven winter plants, and I usually use quite a bit of it. I'm trying to do better overwintering it. Diamond Frost is actually hardy to zones 10 and 11, so for it to live in my garage all winter is great, because most plants that are zone 10 to 11 don't make it in the garage. Now this one still has some green on it, but one year I had some that just turned to a bunch of sticks, and unfortunately I tossed them, but there was one in a pot that turned to sticks, and I was going to get it out of the pot, and then it absolutely exploded. So this is a great one to overwinter in a zone 7B garage that gets heated by a wood stove when it drops below 30. Here we have another proven winners plant called Bad Hair Day. This is a hybrid between an agave and a manfreda, and it's hardy to zone 7B. However, I have it in a pot, and so I like to bring it in the winter just to be safe. If I had any pups, which I don't see any pups off of it yet, but if I had some, I would try to plant one in the ground and see if it actually made it through the winter here. But this is a really fun succulent, and when it gets out in the sun, it has this coloration that changes on the leaves. It gets a little bit of a red tint to it, and that is a lot of fun. Here we have a snow leopard, which is another mangave, and this one is hardy down to zone 9, so definitely this one has to come in. And this is fun because I've got some pups down here, so I am going to be able to divide this up and get some new plants this year. Really excited about having some more of these to spread around the garden, especially around the pool area, and give it that tropical feel. This is one of my favorite pots in the summer, and I was able to overwinter this Amber Waves Tradescantia last year. It can look pretty sad by the time it's ready to come back outside, but like I said, the goal in my Poor Girl's Greenhouse is to just keep them alive so that they can prosper once it gets warm. Now I added this Burgundy Oxalis last year, and it's getting a little leggy. It's been reaching for the sun, living in the garage, but when it gets warm enough to hang out outside, I'll trim it back and let it get thick again. Now I did have some coleus in here, which obviously I've got to pull out and replant next year. But this is a wonderful combination that I'm also wintering in my garage. Here we have another proven winners plant. If you can't tell, I am a huge fan of proven winners plants. They genetically are superior, and to me, it is worth paying the money for proven winter plants. But here we have Unplugged Pink, and I had this paired with Supertunia Vista Jazzberry. It was a beautiful combination, beautiful striking pink combination. The Jazzberry petered out a while ago, but I just thought I'd give this a try. This was my first winter seeing if it would live in the garage, and obviously it loves life in my poor girl's greenhouse. So I am really excited. Unplugged pink is hardy to zone 9, so of course that is a no-brainer for living life in the garage through the winter. So I'm really excited to add some more of these annual salvias from Proven Winners to my potted garden and overwintering them in the garage each year. Here we have, of course, another Proven Winners plant. This is Luscious Royal Pina Colada Lantana. And if you know anything about Lantana, it is one tough plant. It withstands freezing temperatures and usually lasts all season down to a hard freeze. It is hardy down to zone 9 and obviously has loved life living in the poor girl's greenhouse. This was my first year overwintering this one in the garage as well. So I am excited to say that this looks like a definite success story. This is Irisine, another one of my favorite annuals. And last year I tried to take cuttings and root them and overwinter this plant that way, and I was not successful. So this year I thought I'd just give it a try and see if it would make it in the garage from its original container that it had been in all summer. So far it looks pretty good. When it gets a little warmer, we can bring it outside. We will see if we have a successful, beautiful overwintering container. Geraniums. We have lots of geraniums. There's several different ways to overwinter geraniums. I have found that I just like to keep them in their pots. Now they look a little sad and pitiful, but when it gets warm enough to leave them outside, I can trim them back, clean them up, give them a dose of liquid fertilizer, and they will be beautiful this summer. Here we have a Portulaca, however you'd like to say it, variety. I do not have the tag in it, or if I do, I can't see what it looks like. But I usually keep a Portulaca plant in this pot, right in this area. It's kind of, I keep it a little bit under the table, but out enough that it can get rain. And I usually replace it every year, but this year I thought, I'll give it a try. Portulaca can be hardy. It says it's hardy zones 2 through 12. I think it does maybe reseed itself, but I really liked this variety. I believe it was yellow and hot pink. So I just stuck it in the garage and looks pretty good right now. I'll trim it back when it gets warm enough to leave it outside, fertilize it, and hopefully we have another success story. Last year at the end of the season, I bought these chrysanthemums. They're Agave pacifica. They are a really neat mum. They have a variegated leaf, which you can't really see here, but when they are planted in the ground and in full sun, the leaf is a white and green variegated, and then they get these fun little yellow flowers. Not your typical mum looking flower, but these little tiny clusters of yellow flowers. I'll try to pop a picture up on the screen. And these are perennial. I just didn't get them in the ground soon enough, and I wasn't sure how well they would do outside in these pots, because I do believe they were hardy to zone 7. Maybe, anyway, they need to get in the ground. I'm going to put them in the ground, and I'm glad I was looking, because apparently we have some unwanted guests on these plants. I believe they're aphids, so I'm glad it's time to bring them out. I will treat them and look forward to getting them in the ground and letting them live happily ever after. Here is that diamond frost euphorbia in this plant, in this pot with this spike that I thought had died. It just sticks and then came back to life, and that's when I realized that I could overwinter diamond frost euphorbia, and was sad to know that I threw out like 8 plants that were sticks, and they might have come back to life had I given them a chance. Now these echinacea should be perennial for me, but I think they just become a delicacy for the voles, and so I have not been able to have these as perennials. So this one, I decided, darn it, you darn voles, I'm going to keep my echinacea. So I put it in a pot and I brought it in. So obviously it's alive, and that's all that matters, living in the poor girl's greenhouse. So I look forward to getting this one back outside and have a win against the voles. This was a palm that I had rescued off the clearance rack 2 years ago. I was successful overwintering this one last year, and I had to repot it, put it in this pretty seashell scalloped blue pot last summer. I think I can leave it in this pot again this summer, but I'm gonna have to find a bigger space for this guy probably next winter. This is a monarch fern. This was new to me last year. I thought it was a lot of fun. It is hardy to zone 10 and 11, so this was another experiment. So far, I mean, this looks kind of sad, but in general, it is still alive. So hopefully this will be another success story come the warmer months. This was another clearance find at the box store that I picked up late, it's probably September or so. And I had a variegated croton, but I killed the first one. These guys like it dry and they like it hot. So this one I had on my front porch, which just bakes in the sun. I had it in a concrete pot. Actually, it sat in this pot, in the concrete pot. And I knew better than to water it too much. So it has creeping Jenny in it, and then it has some calibrachoa. And calibrachoa is a pretty tough plant as well that likes it pretty dry. And I had trimmed it back. It's flushed out a little bit. It's obviously kind of sad because it was living in the garage, but I'm going to trim that one back because these do well in cooler weather too. So this hopefully will make it as it gets warmer and put on a wonderful show again this year. This was another experiment for me. I planted 4 purple fountain grass, and of course they are beautiful. Purple fountain grass is not perennial for us, so I thought I'd just dig one up and keep it in the garage to see if I could turn it into a perennial that way. So come spring, after the last frost date, I'm going to stick this guy back in the ground and hopefully he will make it. It does look like there are some little new growth pieces popping out, so I might have found another plant that I can successfully overwinter in the garage and then divide up to use the following spring. Time will tell. Here we have some millet. I bought this as a flowering annual for the fall, and I don't know exactly which variety it is. Millet can be annual or perennial. So again, I thought I'd just experiment. I thought I'd see if it would make it through the garage in the winter, and come spring, when I can leave it outside, I'll just see what it does. I could probably take some of these seeds and give seed starting a try with millet. That would be a fun experiment too, especially if the plant doesn't seem to like to make a grand appearance when it gets a little bit warmer and the pot is brought back outside. And here we have a whole collection of mums that I did not get in the ground. These were ordered from Crown Mums. So much fun. I kept them in the garage because, again, they will be perennials for me, but they're in such little pots, and I didn't get them in the ground soon enough to give them a chance to get a good root system developed. So these guys will probably be fine to hang out outside unless it gets down into the teens again. But I've got obviously a huge mum patch to plant up this spring. Here we have a Kimberly fern. Of all the ferns I've tried to overwinter, I was very successful last year with Kimberly ferns. I have a huge one in the garage that I need to divide up. I didn't get it out in time for the rain last night, but that thing is humongous, and I will be dividing it up this spring. This one was another clearance find, and it is looking wonderful. I'm really impressed with how well Kimberly ferns overwinter in my poor girl's greenhouse. Here we have a lemon lime Dracaena that this is one tough plant. This has been neglected since the day I bought it. It is obviously too tall. It obviously has some nutrition problems. It is one tough booger. It has been living in the garage. I had it in the house last year, and I thought it's got to make it in the garage or not. So lemon lime is hardy to zone 10. So I'm impressed with how many things I have discovered that are actually hardy to zone 10 that are making it in the garage this year. So come this spring, this guy is going to get the love and attention it deserves. Woo! Well, it's going to get the love and attention it deserves. We are going to trim it back. We are going to root it. We're going to have a lot of fun with this guy come this spring and summer. You can see how top heavy it is. It just will not stand up. So that is it for what made it out to catch some rain and some sun from my poor girl's greenhouse. If you have not subscribed, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and if you have any experience with any of these plants, or if you have a poor girl's greenhouse, let me know your experience in the comments below. As always, for the love of dirt, get outside, enjoy what nature has to offer. Until next time.